Hello and welcome to the Young Entrepreneurs Syndicate podcast. Good afternoon, Rod.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Good evening.
Man, the sun is shining this week, last week. The grass is growing. Feels awesome to be in a new season.
I love new seasons, and I love that, when the seasons change, Jim, there's always at that transition period, whether it's winter to spring, spring to summer, where we're at now, or summer to fall, where those two climates change.
Mm-hmm.
There's friction, and it creates some awesome storms, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you got to go through the storm to get to the next season.
Yeah.
There's a life lesson in that.
Well, I know that's a metaphor for business because it's a business show, right?
Gosh, there's always business to talk about. Yes.
But, there's some truth to that too. As seasons change, people pivot their efforts. Some is like, okay, I'm going into vacation mode, family activities over the summer, business is going to be on the back burner, or I'm just going to do enough to get by. Whereas others are like, hey, this is my peak season. I need to get everything I can and be able to relax when winter comes around, or you're just always grinding and it doesn't matter what the season is, you're going for it. So I'm kind of in the middle of all that, I think.
I kind of ride the waves.
Mm-hmm.
There are seasonal waves, and usually it's around holidays. And I love in your book, Freedom to Say Yes, you talk about that holiday advantage. And there's a holiday in every month of the year. And so even if you're just riding waves, 1 month to the next, and take your breaks within those waves, between the waves, you can still do that.
Well, it's interesting too, when you take advantage of your time elements per day or utilizing the holidays. So as an example, this morning I was up, just before 5 a.m. and I decided I'd grab my cup of coffee and then go up to my office. There was some work that I wanted to get done early today. So that was just the first thing I did. And so I was done by like 6:15. Then I got into my daily reading habit, my breakfast, then waking the kids up, I took them to school and everything. But what's kind of cool is it's, we're recording this at almost 11. I didn't hear back from most of those people till 10. So I was like 4.5 hours ahead of everybody.
Right.
And I had quite the enjoyable morning, to be honest with you. I got my work done early, and then I was able to enjoy my kids and breakfast with them and some good books, and got my hair cut and saw some friends, like all these things because I was productive during a time most people aren't. Now they're just now finally getting back to me, and we can have some collaboration throughout the rest of the day. So it's been good.
I love it. And if you start your day that way, you create that momentum.
Yeah.
You can create your own wave and ride the wave.
Well, and I think that's the point too, is creating some momentum of your choosing at the time of your choosing as well. Now, oftentimes, like you mentioned in my book, I talk about, when everybody's on holiday, and if you work for yourself or you work in an environment where you can create some momentum while everybody's on holiday, while not sacrificing your own personal goals, if that's family time or rest and relaxation, I still want you to get that. But, when you really become a student of your calendar, you'll realize when those opportunities are, like this morning for me. Typically, I start the day with a workout and reading all that stuff. But think about the holes in your pocket and going for it, because you might just surprise yourself, the momentum that you create, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's
fun.
fun.
What I wanted to talk about today, Rod, actually two things. The first one is, before we started recording, we just talked about the economy, and I want to touch on that for a minute. And then this will give you a couple of minutes to think about it. What I want to talk about today is utilizing the tools that you have in your tool chest. Utilizing the tools that you have in your tool chest. So let me come back to that in a minute. You were talking about economy and shipping, and what you're noticing is places like UPS are busy moving packages right now, busier than usual. And the concern, and I agree with you, is that people do not have enough awareness of what's happening in the economy and what I am calling a recession, and the lack of capital that's coming in our near future. Now, I had a conversation yesterday with somebody. We were talking about inflation, And I said, well, to me, it's probably roughly around 15 to 18%, depending on how you look at it. I said, so no matter what, you're going to have to work extra just to make up for that loss. Call it 15%. So you need to earn 15% more just to break even. Now, if you want to get ahead, you want to save and, plan for your future, what does that look like? 30% more? So if you're making $100,000 a year, you better find an extra 30 grand to stay ahead and just put a little bit away. I mean, that's $1,200 a month you could put away and stay ahead of inflation if it's truly at 15% in your life. I feel like, we're all a little bit different because of our spending habits, and we have got animals over on my property, so I'm probably seeing closer to 20% inflation in my monthly economy. I'm concerned too. So I'd love to hear your expanded thoughts on that now that we're on the air.
Well, I'm gonna throw this out there real quick. You said you're gonna have to earn more, right? So there are two ways to earn. There's savings, number one. Yep. You can cut back, or you can earn more. So for anybody out there listening that's working a regular job, if you're not working for yourself, and even if you are working for yourself, let's say we'll model it after a 40-hour week. Entrepreneurs don't work 40-hour weeks, they work more. But let's say 40-hour week and inflation is up 15%. You're going to have to find another 6 hours to work. Mm-hmm. So how many of you working for someone else can go to your boss and say, I need to get 6 more hours of time in? Or if it's time and a half, I need 3 hours of overtime a week just to keep up with inflation. It doesn't work that way.
No,
you're not going to be able to just go in and ask your boss for more hours, right? Or a raise. I need a 15% raise. They're not going to do it. And they're not going to give you more hours. So now you can either cut back, you can put it on your credit card. So that 15% is now going to cost you 35%, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening, Jim. That's what's happening. People are spending, and there's a nervous energy that's literally shutting off the center of their brain that makes wise decisions. Mm-hmm. There is something going on that's shutting down the normal thought processes of human beings. And it's the anticipation. There's an excitement, there's an energy out there, and they're misinterpreting that energy for something positive. And it's actually saying, you better store up, there's a storm coming. And I whether you believe it or not, I believe there's a storm coming. And I would rather be prepared for a storm and not have it show up than have it show up and be unprepared. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I think part of what you're talking about or referring to is I just looked it up real quick. What's the current inflation rate? It says, 4%. It was 8% last year. That doesn't work for me. What is your own personal inflation rate? Your lifestyle, your town, your city, your habits, whatever that looks like. What is your own personal inflation rate? Because I'm telling you, mine's closer to 20. This 4%, I don't even know what they're talking about. Even 8%.
If you look back at the last 2 years, go to the grocery store. Yeah. I can't, my wife and I, or Jim, we're kind of doing a fun thing. It's been over 2 months since we've gone to the grocery store. Over 2 months. Mm-hmm. And we did this thing. We challenged ourselves. We said, how long can we go? How long can we go? Now, the neat thing is all the groceries I've got stockpiled were bought at old rates. I'm going to the supermarket now and I can look at things and say, holy crap. Yeah. A bottle of ketchup is how much? A head of lettuce is this. It's like, what's happened? Baloney. It's not 4%, folks. It's not 4%. If you're paying $8 for a jar of peanut butter that you used to be able to get for $1.50, it's not 4%.
Yeah, and by the way, when you say $1.50, you're not referring to your childhood days, 50 plus years ago. You're talking about a couple of years ago,
or a few years ago,
whatever that looks like. Head of lettuce, used to be 69, 70, 79 cents. Now you're talking about $4.
It's crazy.
What inflation rate is that? I mean, so I really want people to pay attention to where their money's at. And like you said, sometimes savings could be your way of staying ahead, and look at ways you can save on your monthly, things that you can cut out of your life if they're not necessary. Because, if you can cut out 5% of your expenditures and then make another 10, now you're even.
Right.
if you make a little bit more than that, you can get ahead a little bit, but be concerned, be cognizant of what's going on. And, I've consulted several people that are entrepreneurs, and they've had opportunities to have something really stable in their life that pays more than what they're making as entrepreneurs. And what I suggested is they negotiate a really good contract for that steady income. And within that contract, make sure they allocate some hours to keep their entrepreneurial businesses alive. But having a combination of something steady and something that, maybe can continue to grow on your own. But when these times get rocky, you're going to be looking for something,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And well, I don't know. Well, that's maybe a topic for another time. But people should be looking at supplemental income. I think that's wise, whether you're in need of it or not. And think about it: the most successful people I know are invested in lots of other things. They're always looking for other supplemental income, and that's how they get ahead. And the average person needs to be doing the same thing. They need to be looking at supplemental income sources. And I don't care what it is. It might be flipping a couple of things from garage sales or whatever. You doing a little arbitrage. Do something. Look for something.
Well, maybe I'm naive in saying this, but I feel like in the last 10 years, I've learned that in the election cycle, they really mess with, what we're spending money on. I think Biden's been the best example of, the fuel cost. Right. Let's start dropping those fuel costs before midterms so we get more voters come out for Democrats because Biden's in the House. Maybe that's happened for years and I never realized it as much, or maybe it's just kind of this new thing that they leverage some of these resources to get votes. Either way, it's evil. And we need to understand that when we're going into 2024, probably the most important election in the last 200 years, they're going to mess with things and we need to be ready for it.
Absolutely.
All right, let's shift gears to the other topic I had for today, because I think that one's really important. I'm glad we got a little bit of that off our chest and hopefully people were paying attention. I want to talk about using the tools in your tool chest, whatever that looks like. A lot of times I'll sit down as an entrepreneur and I'll write down ways I make money. And I write down all the businesses that I'm involved with, and then some of the levers within each one of those businesses, how much I'm doing or not doing, and what I need to focus on. Well, to me, that's my global tool chest, right? That's my Makita and my Craftsman and all. I open up each toolbox and see what's in there. But once you open up those tool chests, what do you have to work with? And we were just talking about this for our own business, our coaching group. If you're not familiar, it's the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. And we do a coaching call every Monday night, Mr. Rod Kuntz and myself and our other partner, Rachel. And within that group, we've got a number of tools for you to use, which are like business plans, NDAs, budgeting, all kinds of stuff like that, marketing tools. But on our side, I was starting to tell Rod about Klaviyo, which is a funnel for emails, outreach basically to your members. And it's something that we haven't utilized a lot. And I've been realizing the last 2 weeks the value of that particular tool. And we're not utilizing it. It's like that really good hammer in your tool chest and you're just not using it, even though it's the good one. And I just was thinking, like, how often do we conduct our daily business the way that we've always done it and forget to take a look at the tools that we have in front of us that we're not utilizing? And sometimes that could just be an employee that works for you or a business partner that works with you, and you haven't tapped them for what they're good at, what their strengths are. And I want to encourage people to look at what tools they have to work with and really analyze if they're being used to their maximum capacity. So what are your thoughts?
Well, number one, this is one of my favorite topics because I learned a lesson in the military, and it was an officer's school. And it was it's maximum utilization of available resources.
Yeah.
A good field commander will make the best use of every resource at their disposal. And if you're not, it's a weakness.
Yeah.
So you always want to have that upper hand. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper on this. Yes, we all have tools. And if we're not operating at our efficiency, maybe we're using the wrong tool. So sometimes it might be time to upgrade that tool. Maybe you
Oh,
need to be on a different platform. Maybe you need to use that platform to its maximum advantage. Let's say you've got a knife, right? But your knife is dull. Sometimes we need to sharpen our tools. We need to go back to class. We need to go to a seminar. We need to join a coaching group. We need to learn where our faults are and admit them so that we can sharpen that tool so it's the best. Our existing tools, and most people, it's their staff or their customers. What are you doing to get the maximum use out of your customers? When I was in retail, it was always an add-on sale. If somebody bought a pair of boots, you sold them an extra set of laces. You sold them a pair of socks. You sold them waterproofing, or a shoe dryer, to protect their investment. It's what are you doing with that customer? And it's not just to get money out of their pocket. It's to help them get the most out of the tool they've just purchased from you.
Yeah.
Are you training your staff to really service that customer? Because if you are, you're going to get pickup sales. And there's your 15% we just talked about earlier.
Yeah, sure.
Right there. You can do that with, and I don't care what the product is, you have that. Are you asking your customer for referrals? Are you creating brand loyalty and just loyalty to your establishment with, like coffee cards, punch cards, that sort of thing? Are you offering discounts to, I don't care if it's senior citizens or first responders or veterans? I get that question a lot, and yeah, it keeps me wanting to go back, because then they look at you and they actually appreciate, thank you for your service. It's the appreciation, that sharpening that tool. Where's that point of contact, between you and your customer base? Because those are the tools that need to be utilized, number one. But if you're not getting the most out of it, sharpen the tool. And sometimes that's our own head. It starts right up here.
Yeah. Make your life easier by using a sharp tool.
Exactly.
Whatever that looks like, right? And you know what? Sometimes I've been getting really far out of my comfort zone recently with this new client, hence bringing up Klaviyo. I've always allowed our partner, Rachel, to deal with Klaviyo in our other businesses and stuff like that. It's something that she's familiar with. And I've just avoided learning more about it. Squarespace website platform, same. I've avoided learning more about it. But in the last week, I've done deep dives on both so that I understand how they work, so that I can direct people how to use those tools. But I had to invest in myself, like you said, sharpen my own tool, learn how to use them. Once you learn how to use something, you become the teacher to say, hey, we have this great resource here. Here's all the ways you can use it. And I think sometimes we forget about sharpening our own tool. And we have so many resources available to us. I mean, YouTube and Google, they're right there at our fingertips. Ask it anything, you're going to get a response. And just that alone will make you better in what you're doing too. So you can sharpen your own tool right in front of you. So find your weaknesses, find your team's weaknesses, or find the tool that's best for the job. Because I think you'll find that as a way to improve your business, your speed of service, and probably your profitability. Absolutely.
And Jim, I'm going to take my hat off to you, because a couple of months ago for our business, one of our businesses here, you'd actually sent out a bullet pointed list of new members and existing members. What can we do to up our game? Right. And you were looking at a lot of the things that you're finding with Klaviyo right now. I'm looking at this right now. Right.
Yeah.
This is a document you came up with. It's like, how can we sharpen our tool? And we were working on that, but now you're sharpening, you're getting even more of a fine edge on it. Right.
Yeah.
And I've got notes on here. It's like, okay, when you were sharpening your tool, you caused me to sharpen mine. Right. And I'm a business partner with you. So all of a sudden we've got more people, all of us sharpening our edges. When we're ready to go to battle, right? And every day is a battle. We're going to be operating at maximum performance. And that's part of maximum utilization of available resources.
Yeah.
Utilizing the tools in your toolbox. And sometimes, you need a bigger hammer. Sometimes you got to go to the expert, to the Rachel, the marketing expert, and say, I need you on this project. I'm over my head. I want it. It's not good enough with the work I'm doing. I need a professional. So realize your shortcomings too. That's part of using the tools.
So my quick suggestion as it relates to your business, and Rob, you'll probably have yours as well. Take a step back from your business and then look into your different departments, whether you're a solo entrepreneur or you have a team. And I've ventured to guess most of you are solo, maybe some support, internal or external, but look at your departments separately and the resources each department has. So accounting, for example, if you do your own accounting, are you on QuickBooks? If you are utilizing it, are you being efficient in the transfer of data to your CPA? Are you getting ahead of tax season? Like really dive into the tools that you have for accounting. Do you have good, money collecting systems? Are you saving on interest rates or fees? Are you using one service over the other because you could save one point? Really look at your tools in each department. Go to your marketing department. Okay, what are we doing there? What does our plan look like? What is our strategy for the next 12 months? And treat those departments as separate silos to analyze if you're using the tools that you have available, and if the tools you are using are sharp enough for the job. And if not, make a list of how you can make it better. And I don't want to suggest that you got to dive in and fix every department right away or be the most efficient possible. But if you have a list over a period of time, and you should give yourself a time frame, hey, in the next 3 months, I want to analyze these different subsets of my accounting principles. So then little bites at a time. Okay, did I look at all the interest rates on all my credit cards and all my service fees for Zoom or Zelle or Venmo or PayPal, like my bank account? Just dive in one thing at a time. And at the end of those 90 days, I guarantee you'll come out ahead. And if nothing else, you'll have a better understanding of your systems and how they work. So that's my advice on how you take sharpening your tool, or make sure you're using all the tools to the best of their advantage. That's my advice moving forward of what I recommend you should do.
Well, and it's funny, Jim, because I'm glad you bring this up, because most of us, we get into a routine and a rhythm, and we stop looking at the little things that even got us there. And it's so easy to start overlooking those things. We just take them for granted, but we need to spend time at the nano level, looking deep. And let's look at professional sports for a second. Oh
yeah,
coaches, they always say, oh, we're looking at film. We spend all this time looking at film. Well, what the heck does that mean? That means they're looking for subtleties. They're looking for the one little thing they can do different that will give each player an edge, to give a boxer an edge. This is what he does. He feints with his right, and that's when you've got an opening. He does it every time, and this is how he sets it up, looking at the film. So spend some time looking at the film of your business. What did you do last quarter? What did you do last year? What little things can you do that start making the difference to add them up? And so spend some time looking at film.
Just that statement alone inspires me, because I've had the opportunity to work with a number of top-level athletes in my career. Right now, both of us are doing some work with Dana Lynn Bailey, who was Miss Olympia. And when you think about somebody at that level and analyzing what it takes to be the best at something, every last detail matters. You talk about looking at film for a football player. Even what foot they take off the line with makes a difference in their speed and ability to get through the opponent. And if the opponent's different, they probably got to change feet. Like, okay, I'm going to step with my right foot on this guy because he steps this way. Analyzing and knowing every last detail. We watch these athletes, and they're just great examples to use because they're so prominent on TV and on social media as being the top of their game. When we analyze them, we forget to think about the countless hours that they're putting in to sharpen the tool to do their job. They're athletes making money because it's their job, and they're willing to put in the time. And we sit back with envy. Oh, they make all this money. Well, guess what? They deserve that money because they have put in countless hours to perfect their craft. I was talking to Dana's husband a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about dieting. And for Dana, it's been her life. It just is the way that it is. There's no wavering from that. And she doesn't understand how anybody else could waver from the task, because she's trained her mind so well that she's going to follow the task exactly how it is and be the best that she can be. There's no other.
Right.
And I could only imagine if we treated our businesses that way as it relates to our own values and our own goals, there's no other. If I say, and I have said on many occasions, that God and family are my two most important values, there's no other. Well, guess what? There should be no other. And with conviction, there's no room, right? And with conviction, I should chase after those goals and values in everything that I do. And so going back to what I said about your presentation of the film inspires me, because when I get off this call, I want to sit down and spend some time on my own vision board and go, okay, how do I review what I'm doing and make sure that it's aligned 100% with my values at the level that those athletes are, where I feel like, hey, I've got to sit down and watch the film. So thank you for that reminder. And I've been fortunate enough to be around athletes that operate at that level. And I'll leave it at this. Those athletes are people just like you and I. It's like everybody listening. They started out as no different than us, but they made a conscious choice over and over and over again to apply the discipline to be what they are. And if we really want something, we can go after it using the tools that we have, the resources that are out there, and be exactly like those athletes in our own worlds if we apply ourselves. So thank you, Rod. Appreciate that.
Oh, well, gosh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad to have been some service here. So you just reminded me, I was thinking about this the other day. I was going to actually do a video on it. Maybe I still will. The difference between deciding to do something and being committed.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference between deciding and committing. Committing is going all in, right? You can decide to date someone. You can decide that you like to be with them. You can decide that, yeah, I'd like to spend more time with you. I would like you to be my wife, but to be committed is a totally different thing.
Yeah.
You've got to be all in. And are you committed to being the best you can? I signed up. In fact, I was going to mention this to you earlier. I signed up for a class you might be interested in because I want to get better, right? And it's, I think next Tuesday, I'll have to send you the link. Pete Vargas and Grant Cardone are doing another training session.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, and on public speaking, and it's like, well, gosh, is that something that resonates with you, Jim? Yeah. And we all speak in public. Yeah, we all speak in public. And it's like, if I can pick up one little tip that I can share with somebody else to up their game, I'm going to do it. And so it's what we're doing. You've got to spend time in front of other people, admitting your shortcomings and sharpening your mind.
Well, hey, you put it out on the airwaves. You should probably put it on your Instagram now, so everybody can hear about it. So maybe you might want to put that up on your Instagram, what you're doing. Final note on all this, I'm trying to surround myself, or at least what I consume, with more people that are running at that top level. Last week I had Brad Dunn on the other podcast show. The answer is yes. And, talk about a guy that he's a fireman, and he works for CAL FIRE in Central California, San Luis Obispo. He gets up every morning at like 3:45 to work out. Doesn't miss a day, disciplined every single time. And he's got this routine, and he talks about how his life has changed and how he's changing others and helping them develop the discipline. And it's just like what we've been talking about. There's no room for less than, if that's what you want to be. So good show today. Good topic.
Always is.
Yeah. And look, if you like what you're hearing, share this show with somebody. Second of all, if you want to join our group, the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, we'd love to have you. Just hit us up on either our social media channels, or you can go directly to that website. And we meet every Monday night on a Zoom call, myself and Rod and Rachel, and we talk about all things, mainly business. But if you've got other questions, we're happy to answer them. We do a robust curriculum with some Q&A for everybody. We don't leave the call till all the questions are answered. And then our back-end platform, which we built out with Jadari. That's owned by Sean Whalen and Greg Anderson. Those guys really know how to put something together. We've got a wonderful private community where we share and network with one another, business ideas, collaborations, inspiration, all those other things. So love to have you. So Rod, thank you for all your inspiration and words today. And I look forward to recording next week.
Thank you, Jim. I look forward to joining you again.
Right on. All right, everybody. Have a great week.